afternoon, all. Welcome to the ASAP online classes for engineering students. Today's session, we we will cover slip power recovery control schemes in electric drives for semester 6 electric and electronic engineering students. The session is handled by Mr. Dr. Sheikh Mohammed S, Assistant Professor, Department of Electric and Electronic Engineering, TKM College of Engineering, Kollam. He has over 11 years teaching experience. He did his PhD in solar power converter and MPPT algorithm. He has also published several papers in international journals. I would like to welcome you, sir, on behalf of ASAP and students to this session. Over to you,
Thank
sir. We will start the session.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Good afternoon to everyone who is presenting to have a discussion over the topic slip power recovery systems from the subject electric drives, which is offered in the sixth semester for KTU, Electrical and Electronics Engineering students. So I would like to start with a brief introduction about the fourth module, because this slip power recovery system is covered in the fourth module of electric drive subject. So I would like to start with the brief introduction about what is covered in fourth module. Then we will move on to the subject, topic which we are going to discuss now. Next slide. So basically, the fourth module of the subject electric drives is covering induction motor drive and mainly the speed control of induction motor drive. It has been thoroughly discussed. The different methods for the speed control of the induction motor are discussed in all aspects. And according to the fundamental equation of the induction motor, N is equal to 120 F by P. So N is the speed which can be varied by varying the frequency and or by changing the number of poles. So fundamentally, when we talk about the speed control of the induction motor drive, induction motor speed control can be controlled either by controlling the stator side of the machine or by controlling the rotor side of the machine. Those different control techniques for the speed control of induction motor are listed in this slide. So as I just mentioned, N is equal to 120 F by P. Therefore, you can vary the speed by varying the number of poles or by varying the frequency, and obviously by varying the stator voltage, we can vary the speed of the motor. So these are being done at the stator side. Other way, the speed of the induction motor can be controlled by controlling the rotor side also. So that is done by two different methods, either by adding external resistance on the rotor side or by implementing slip power recovery schemes. So in this session, we are going to concentrate only on the slip power recovery schemes. And beforehand, we will have a brief outline on what is this external resistance control of the slip power induction, of the induction motor drive. Go to the next slide. So I would like to give an overview of the closed loop speed control of the motor in general, which you have already studied in the first module itself, or when you study about the drives, you would have obviously studied or learned about closed loop speed control. For a particular reason, I am just refreshing this concept here. So when you just have a look at this closed loop speed control, though it is starting with the omega m reference, I am going to start it from the load side, that is at the right side of the block diagram. So consider that you have a motor and a load is connected to the motor. From the motor, we are measuring the speed, right? From the motor, we are measuring the speed of the machine with the help of a speed sensor that is taken to the comparator, where you are comparing the motor speed with the reference speed of the motor which you are applying, the user command, right? Now, that process is, the speed sensor output is the motor speed that is compared with the reference speed, and it is producing the error signal that is given to the speed controller, that is the second block. The speed controller will generate an equivalent current value and it will give it to the current limiter, right? That is given to the, so you are measuring the speed that speed is compared with the reference speed and the error of the speed value is taken and given to the speed controller, that speed controller will process the speed value, and from that point, with the help of the current limiter, that value is converted into current reference. Right. Now you need the motor current in order to find the error in the current, because the current reference is generated with the help of speed value. So we are measuring the motor current with the help of the current sensor that is being compared with the reference current, which is obtained by processing the speed value. You are giving it to the current controller. So the speed value is processed by the speed controller. In order to convert it into current, it is given to the current limiter, and the current error is processed by the current controller. Now this current controller will give the control signal, because when we talk about drive, it is a combination of the converter and the motor. Right. Now this current controller will provide the control signal to the converter, so that the motor can be controlled in order to obtain the speed which is set by the user. So this way the speed control of the motor is been achieved. Whatever the control techniques you are going to study about any type of motor, this two loop control is implemented there. That is the only reason I have explained here, because we are going to discuss about the closed loop control of Kramer drive also. That is why I explained this one. Let's move on to the next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so let's see what is a slip power recovery scheme. As I mentioned, the slip power is recovered and effectively utilized. Right. The slip power recovery scheme is nothing but utilization of the slip power by means of recovering it in such a way. Right. So two or three important things you need to know is that this can be possible only in slip ring induction motor. Right. The slip power recovery scheme can be applied only in slip ring induction motor. From there only you are going to in slip ring induction motor only you can obtain the slip power. And the power, that is a general concept. The power delivered to the rotor across the air gap is equal to the mechanical power delivered to the load and the rotor copper loss. So the air gap power is the sum of the mechanical power and the copper loss. Go to the next slide. This is the equation which you would have seen, or you would have learned or studied when you started studying about the induction motor drive. Very obviously, the speed torque equation, the induction motor drive is explained with the help of initially a torque equation and the equivalent circuit, three-phase equivalent circuit. In that discussion, this power equation is also presented. So have a look at this equation. Is there anything wrong with the presentation? Are you all able to see the presentation now? PPT, rotor power is equal to mechanical power plus rotor copper loss. That is explained as PAG is equal to P mechanical plus P copper loss. So the total power, again PAG, that is the armature gap power, is equal to the synchronous speed velocity multiplied by the torque, and the other equation which we know is the mechanical power is equal to angular velocity into torque. And the other equation, omega is equal to omega s into 1 by s, is nothing but n is equal to ns into 1 by s, the very conventional, the conventional speed equation with respect to the synchronous speed and the slip. Right. So by substituting all these values, we will be able to get what is the copper loss. Right. When you are going to substitute P is equal to omega t, where omega will be again substituted as omega s into 1 by s. By substituting all these values in the first equation and you will get the final equation for the copper loss. That is power loss, total copper loss is equal to S into omega S into T. That is the slip power. So here slip power is nothing but the copper loss, air gap power multiplied by the slip, which can be, and the other equation is Pm is equal to 1 minus S into Pg. That is, somehow you can relate this equation with the speed equation, n is equal to ns into 1 minus s. right? So I will just disable my video for a while to have a smooth presentation. Now go to the next slide. This slide is giving an overview of what do we call as rotor resistance control and what is slip recovery scheme. As just mentioned, with the help of that equation, whatever I discussed with the equation is just mentioned in the first point. And have a look at the second point, which I have highlighted here. The speed control of slip ring induction motor can be achieved by connecting external resistance to the rotor side. By adding external resistance, we can dissipate the power in the slip. I mean, the slip power can be simply dissipated so that the speed can be adjusted. That is a very fundamental speed control method which is implemented in the rotor side. But the problem is the slip power is simply wasted through the resistor, because you are going to dissipate the power and the power is simply wasted. The rotor copper loss is proportional to slip, and the slip power is wasted in the rotor resistance control. Whatever the, I mean, with respect to the speed, if you want to have a very high speed control, then all the power, all the slip power, that much amount of slip power must be dissipated in the external resistance. So the power is simply wasted. So instead of wasting the power is effectively utilized with the help of slip power recovery scheme. That is what we do with the help of slip power recovery scheme. So the slip power can be recovered to the supply source and can be used to supply an additional motor which is mechanically coupled to the. That is one particular technique. Don't take it as it is. What we fundamentally do is, what we do with the help of the slip power recovery scheme is the power, I mean the slip power is recovered and utilized. So it can be either fed to the source or it can be utilized in some other way. Go to the next slide. So in the next slide, Amit, it's moved already. Yeah. So here in the next slide, if you have a look at it, the slip power recovery scheme can be implemented for both subsynchronous and supersynchronous region. So you can achieve the speed control of slip ring induction motor with the help of a slip power recovery scheme in both subsynchronous region and also in the supersynchronous region. So I mean, in your exam, generally the questions may not be given directly. I will show you the type of the drives, slip power recovery drives, that to do two different schemes, which we will see their exact name. But in most cases, you may not have the question directly to explain this drive or that drive. For example, the two drives are static Kramer drive and static Scabius drive. But in some cases, the questions may be directly given to explain the static Kramer drive or Scabius drive. But the other way to give the question is to explain the slip power recovery scheme for subsynchronous region or for supersynchronous region or for both subsynchronous and supersynchronous region. So it is very much important to know which method is the subsynchronous region speed control and which method is the supersynchronous region speed control, right? So when the power is fed to the supply only unidirectional, which is called unidirectional, we are going to extract some power from the slip power that will be processed and given to the grid. And if it is happening only in that way, then the machine is operating in the subsynchronous mode, right? That is what given in the last point. If the electric power is pumped to the rotor, the motor operates in supersynchronous region is the other way around. So in the first case, when the slip power is taken from the rotor and fed back to the supply, that is what do we call as subsynchronous mode. And if you are taking supply from the motor and pumping it again to the rotor of the machine, then that is called suprasynchronous region. Go to the next slide. I hope this concept is very clear now. So this is giving the classification of the slip power recovery methods. They are Kramer system and Scurbius system. Again, they are further divided into the conventional method and static method. In this session, we will see the conventional Kramer system, static Kramer system, and static Scurbius system. Excuse me. Next slide. Next one. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So this figure is showing the conventional Kramer system. Read the diagram from the three-phase AC supply. Three-phase AC supply is connected to the stator of the machine. Rotor has slip rings. Three lines are taken out from the slip ring and they are given to the other side. There is one rotary converter. Then the rotary converter is mechanically coupled to the DC motor. The field winding of the rotary converter and also the DC motor are connected to the external DC supply. And in addition to that, the field winding of the DC motor is connected to the variable resistance in order to achieve the field control also. The description is given in the next slide, so I am not going to read the next slide. I will just explain with the help of this diagram. Then we will have a pause on the next slide for a few seconds for you to read. Okay. Now the slip power is recovered or extracted with the help of the rotary converter. The rotary converter convert the power. The rotary converter convert the power into DC electricity. That DC power is fed into the armature of the DC motor. That DC power is fed into the armature. That I mean the rotary converter and DC motor are not mechanically coupled. They are connected electrically. Okay. The DC power output of the rotary converter is given as an input to the armature of the DC motor. Then this DC motor is mechanically coupled to the slip ring induction motor. So with respect to the speed control, you need the power will be extracted from there and that power is given to the rotary converter. The rotary converter is converting the power that is fed to the DC. Now it will increase the torque actually. So by adding the DC motor and connecting it mechanically, coupling it to the synchronous slip ring induction motor will aid to improve the increase the torque. In addition to that, the speed of the DC motor can be controlled by varying the field resistance which is connected to it. This is how the conventional Kramer system works as the slip power recovery system. Go to the next slide. Whatever I just explained are given as points. Just to have a look at it. The slip ring induction motor is coupled to the shaft of the DC motor. Power is taken to the rotary converter, then it is converted into DC, and the DC motor is driven with the help of the output of the rotary converter, and the speed of the slip ring motor is adjusted by adjusting the speed of DC motor with the help of speed regulator. Right? Next slide. So this is what called as electromechanical cascade, that is cascade converter. This is what we called as cascade converter system. The slip power is returned as the mechanical power again back into the machine itself. It is cascaded, right? You have a slip ring induction motor. The a DC motor is cascaded into it. The mechanical power is again, the output, the slip power is converted into mechanical power and it is again returned to the shaft of the slip ring induction motor. Go to the next slide. So some advantages of the slip ring, conventional Kramer driver mentioned here. The rotary converter is, if the rotary converter is overexcited, it will take the leading current which compensates for the lagging current most important point to be understood from this. And obviously we are going to control, I mean, you already have the control over the other side, you are extracting the slip power, and you are going to have the field control of the DC motor also. Therefore the speed control range is very wide. Okay, next slide. This figure is showing the drive circuit for the static Kramer system, and also the speed torque characteristics curve for different firing angle are also shown here. Have a look at this diagram again. Please read the diagram from the stator of the induction motor. Start reading the diagram from the stator of the induction motor. Three-phase power supply is, or three-phase AC supply is connected to the stator, and the rotor side is connected through switches to a drive circuit, I mean to the converter circuit, uncontrolled rectifier circuit, and also it has the resistances, right? Have a look at the diagram. At the bottom line, you have three resistors directly connected to the slip rings of the three-phase machine. That means so when switch S1 is closed, what will happen? You are going to dissipate the power by means of rotor resistance control, right? And at the other side, if you want to implement the static Kramer system, this is the circuit. The static Kramer system circuit has a uncontrolled rectifier, smoothing inductor, LDEC smoothing inductor. So the output of the uncontrolled rectifier is DC, which is VD1, that will be supplied to the inverter circuit. The other circuit which we are having is the inverter circuit. The circuit will be operated with the duty cycle in the range of 90 to 180, right? In order to make the circuit to work as an inverter, the circuit will be, I mean, the switches of the three-phase circuit will be fired with a firing angle in between 90 to 180 degree. So what will happen? The power, the slip power, when switch S2 is closed, slip power will be supplied to the uncontrolled rectifier. Then this uncontrolled rectifier will convert that AC into DC. That uncontrolled DC is moved with the help of the smoothing inductor. The ripple is removed and the processed DC is given to the inverter circuit. The inverter circuit is connected directly to the three-phase AC supply through a transformer. With the help of a transformer, the output of three-phase inverter is connected to the grid. So, and please have a look at the speed torque curves also. As you increase the alpha, the speed of the machine is decreasing, right? If the basic value or the initial value of alpha is the minimum value you can apply is 90 degree. When you increase it above 90 degree, the speed of the machine will obviously reduce. So with respect to the firing angle which is applied to the converter, the speed of the machine will be controlled, because the other one is uncontrolled rectifier. With respect to the firing angle applied to this inverter, the power will be extracted from there. That power is given with the help of the transformer back to the supply, right? So I will repeat once again. Switch S2, when switch S2 is closed and with based on the firing angle applied to the inverter which is connected with the help of the transformer to the supply, you can be able to control the speed of the machine, but with respect to that, the power will be extracted from the slip ring of the machine and it will be processed by the uncontrolled rectifier. Go to the next slide. What explained to you are explained in this slide. Please just to go through this. I highlighted few points here. Rotor resistance control, that is what we have already discussed. So the power is pumped back to the supply line and the slip power is flowing in only one direction, right? The slip power is flowing in only one direction because the converter circuit which we have connected at the slip ring, connected to the slip ring, is uncontrolled rectifier. Power can flow in only one direction. And this method is control drive, right? So the slipover recovery scheme, which is suitable only for subsynchronous speed, is nothing but a static Kramer drive. Keep it in mind. Next slide. This is what I just already explained. Go to the next slide. The equations, you already know these equations. We are going to have a discussion further over on these discussions. What will happen when we are going to vary alpha and because if you recall the circuit, go back to slide number 14. Go back to slide number 14. Have a look at the circuit diagram. VD1 plus minus, VD2 minus plus. So the net voltage, if you neglect the losses, obviously VD1 will be equal to VD2, right? Or you can say VD1 plus VD2 is equal to 0.
Sir.
Parayu? Amit?
ജിഫി സാറ് പറയുന്നത് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ? Hello.
By substituting the values for VD1 and VD2, we will have S is equal to minus N by M cos alpha. N by M is the stator to rotor turns ratio. Stator to rotor turns ratio will be provided by N by M. That we have written as minus A. Now, the 3 points which are mentioned here will give you the idea in what range we can control the speed of the machine. If you read the statement, the motor speed can be varied from 0 speed to synchronous speed when the firing angle of line commutated inverter is varied from 180 degree to 90 degree. Right? So we know the equation S is equal to minus A cos alpha. Let us consider the turns ratio is equal to 1. Therefore, S is equal to minus A cos alpha. So when alpha is equal to 90 degree, cos alpha cos 90 degree will be 0. That means the speed will be 0, right? On the other hand, when you are applying 180 degree firing angle, S will become 1, right? S will become 1, so you will reach the 0 speed. So when the firing angle is 0, technically, I mean, when it is 90 degree, this will become 0. Technically, there is no power extracted. So the machine will operate at the synchronous speed. When you are operating at 180 degree, then the speed will become 0 because S will become 1, right? Go to the next slide. So in this way, the speed of the machine is varied from 0 to synchronous speed with the help of varying the firing angle between 180 degree to 90 degree. Go to next slide. Right. So what I just mentioned with the help of the previous slide is that you can vary the firing angle between 90 degree to 180 degree. But in order to have a smooth commutation, the firing angle is restricted to 165 degree. Amit, കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ? Audio is clear, right? Amit? ഹലോ, കേൾക്കാവോ?
Hello, sir.
ഇപ്പൊ കേൾക്കാവോ?
Audio clear, sir.
Okay, fine, thank you. Sure. Okay. Yeah. So in the next slide, have you moved to next slide? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now, as I mentioned, alpha will be only controlled to the value of 165 degree in order to have a smooth commutation. So we will see what happen when you are applying 165 degree. When it is 180 degree, then just to go to the
Sorry,
previous slide.
start the session.
Yeah. Okay. Just to go to the previous slide, slide 18. Okay, we will continue with this slide since we have already discussed. Jyoti, you can mute your mic now. Okay, so this is where we left our discussion. With the help of the previous slide, with the previous slide, I just explained to you how we can vary the speed or control the speed between zero speed to synchronous speed by varying the firing angle between 90 to 180 degree. Again, in order to have a safe computation, no, next slide, go to the next slide, slide number 90. In order to have a safe computation, what we did, we controlled or we restrict the firing angle to 165 degree, so that the maximum split which can be controlled is 0 to 0.966 A when the firing angle is varied from alpha to 90 to 165 degree. Now, the maximum speed or the lowest speed which we can obtain and the voltage output are inversely proportional. That is one thing which we need to know. When you have the maximum speed, when the machine is operating at the maximum speed, Jyoti, please go to slide number 19. When the machine is operating at its maximum speed, no, previous slide. When the machine is operating at the maximum speed, what will happen? You are not extracting any power from the machine. That means the output voltage across the uncontrolled rectifier will be 0, right? But when the speed is minimum, what is the meaning of that? You can reduce the speed of the machine by increasing the firing angle, right? So you can achieve the maximum or you can reduce the speed to the lowest value by applying alpha is equal to 165 degree. At that point, you can obtain maximum voltage, right? At that point, you can obtain maximum voltage from the machine that can be taken through the help of the uncontrolled rectifier. That is what given with the help of this equation. VD1 max is equal to V into X max divided by N, where S max is the slip at the lowest speed. Go to the next slide. So we already know VD1 plus VD2 is equal to 0. We are taking the maximum of both of them, right? VD1 max plus VD2 max is equal to 0. And the maximum firing angle which we can apply is 165 degree. Therefore, the equation will become like this. V by M cos 165 degree plus Vs max by N. It is not Vs max, it is Vs max by N, which is equal to 0. From that, you can get the value of the ratio. The turns ratio can be obtained here. M is equal to minus 0.966 into N by S max. So, by selecting appropriate value of N, what you can do, please read the last sentence. Such choice of M ensure the inverter operation at the highest firing angle and lowest speed. So when you are having proper turns ratio, you can have the highest firing angle, and by applying highest powering angle, you can obtain the maximum lowest, the maximum applicable lowest speed can be achieved, and this will provide highest power factor and will also reduce the reactive power, right? Go to the next slide. So this is showing the applications of the static Kramer drive. Since we are running out of time, I will skip this slide and go to the next one for further discussion. Please go to the next slide. This figure is showing the closed loop control of static Kramer drive. Now, I please recall the speed control, closed loop speed control diagram which we have discussed, and the static Kramer drive. Just now, just have a look at the circuit diagram. Only the portion of the Kramer drive. Supply is given to the stator of the machine, then it is given to the uncontrolled rectifier, smoothing inductor, line commutated inverter. Please keep it in mind. A line commutated inverter is used in static Kramer drive, so it will have natural commutation, right? Now that is given back to the supply. Now go to the other part. Hope you remember, we started with the motor. Motor speed is measured. That speed is compared with the reference speed. Then the output is given to the speed into the current. That current reference is given to the current comparator, where the machine motor current is, or the actual current is compared. Then you are generating the control signal to control the inverter. Now you connect that block diagram with this control loop. See, the slip ring induction motor, tachometer is connected to the slip ring induction motor to measure the speed, and you are giving the reference speed. That is compared and the output is taken. So here you can also write a speed controller, right? In order to avoid confusions, you may have a question why we are having speed amplifier here. That speed controller will serve the purpose of speed amplifier also, right? So here also you can write speed controller that is giving the output. The current limiter is not shown here. Then that is giving the set current or the reference current. You are measuring the current with the help of the current transformer which is connected there. Then current limit feedback is given through the uncontrolled rectifier to the comparator. Comparator is giving the current error that is given to the current controller. That current controller is producing the control signal that is applied to the, or that is given as an input to the firing circuit. Now this firing circuit will control your line commutated inverter with respect to the speed you are expecting to be controlled. Right? Is it clear? So once again, the static Kramer drive work as such. You are measuring the speed of the slip ring induction motor and you are comparing it to the speed at which you want to operate the machine. So the error of the speed is given to the speed controller or speed amplifier, that is converting it into the current reference. That current reference signal is given as an input to the comparator, where you are giving the actual current for the output of current current error. That current error is processed, and with the help of the control signal, the line commutator inverter is controlled. All right, go to the next slide. So this is all about Kramer system. Now we will see. Go to the next slide. This is what I just explained. So you can move to the next slide.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually the video is little bit getting blurred, so it's better. I think we
Okay.
should off the video.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Thank you. Sir.
Next slide. Yeah. Okay. Go to the next slide. These are all already explained with the help of that block diagram. Now we will see what is static Scurbius system. So that part is very important. That is why I have given a very detailed explanation about static Kramer drive. If you have thoroughly understand, or if you have understand to some extent, then it is quite easy to recollect the information and understand static Scurbius drive. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Have a look at the diagram. This is somehow, see, the only difference between the static Kramer drive and the diagram representation may be different here. The transformer is given as a block here rather than having the winding. That is what we had in the previous slide, right? In the static Kramer drive, we had a winding for transformer. Here, the transformer is given as the block. Other than that, what is the basic difference? Have a look at it. In the Kramer drive, you had uncontrolled rectifier connected to the motor and the controlled converter connected to the transformer. But here, you have controlled bridge or controlled converter connected to the machine, and also the controlled converter connected to the transformer. So what is the advantage of this? With the help of having a controlled rectifier connected to the slip ring machine, you can have the bidirectional power flow, right? So this is the basic difference between static Cramer drive and static Kirbius drive. In static Cramer drive, unidirectional power flow only is possible. Power will flow only one direction, that is from the motor to the mains. But here you can supply power from the motor to the supply, or other way around, and on the other hand you can supply power from the supply to the machine also. So we will see them. Now have a look at the second point here. This system is used for both subsynchronous and super synchronous speed operation. Okay, this is another difference. Static Cramer drive can be used only for subsynchronous speed operation, but the static Kirbius drive can be used for both subsynchronous speed operation and super synchronous speed operation. Go to the next slide. Next one. This is showing the subsynchronous operation of the machine, right? This figure is showing the subsynchronous operation. Go to the next slide. See, the block which is given at the bottom explains whatever the point is mentioned in this slide. Recall and reconnect the circuit diagram of static Kirbius drive with this one. The machine is connected to the three-phase supply. Slip rings are connected to the controlled rectifier. Controlled rectifier output is going through the smoothing inductor to the controlled converter 2, that is inverter in this case, and the supply is given to the transformer, right? Through the transformer, the supply is, or power is supplied to the mains. So here the bridge 1 act as a rectifier and bridge 2 act as an inverter. What does it mean? If you want to operate a converter circuit as a rectifier, you have to operate it with the firing angle of less than 90 degree. And if you want to operate the circuit as an inverter, the firing angle will be above 90 degree. So 0 to 90 degree is rectifier, 90 degree to 180 degree will be the inverter circuit. Here what we are doing, we want to supply the slip power to the supply mains. We have to send the power back to the mains, so that power flow will be in this direction. Slip power is taken, it is given to the rectifier. Rectifier is converting it into DC, that is being again inverted back into AC with the help of the inverter circuit. So bridge 1 will be operating with firing angle of below 90 degree. Bridge 2 will be operating with the firing angle of above 90 degree. The AC supply is given to the transformer, that is fed back to the mains. Subsynchronous speed operation mode. Go to the next slide. The same diagram, but you can have a look at the arrow marks. These diagrams are only taken into account only for the arrow mark. I will explain here now. Now the bridge 2 will act as a rectifier. Bridge 1 will act as inverter. So what will happen? You are going to supply power, additional power to the machine to operate it in the super synchronous mode. So the power will be converted into DC. That means bridge 2 will have a firing angle of below 90 degree. It will convert it into DC through smoothing inverter. It will go to bridge 1. Now bridge 1 will be operated with a firing angle of more than 90 degree. So you are converting into AC and you are supplying the power back to the rotor of the machine in order to operate it in the super synchronous mode. Go to the next slide. That whatever I have explained is given as a description here. But the diagram presented here. Next one. No, they again. Yeah. From the supply, it is going to the transformer, then to the bridge 2, bridge 1, and to the rotor circuit. Hope you understand the concept of subsynchronous operation and supersynchronous operation and the difference between Cramer drive and the Scalia's drive by now. Go to the next slide. Some drawbacks of the Scalia's drive are given here. So, since in that other case we are supplying power to only one direction, right? In the Cramer drive we are supplying, and I repeatedly used one word, line commutated inverter. Yes, so control will be easy. In static Cramer drive you will supply power only back to the mains, but control will be easy because commutation will occur naturally. But here, in case of static Scalia's drive, you need to apply force commutation for the inverter. So that will improve the, that will increase the complexity of the system, control complexity of the system. Second thing is there we use, that is a very, that is given as a, in order to say it as a drawback, it is given as a drawback. Obviously, if you want to have a bidirectional power flow, then you need to have controlled rectifier at both sides, right? And since you are going to have a controlled rectifier which is replacing the uncontrolled rectifier, you are going to replace the diodes by the thyristor. That will increase the cost, and it will increase the control circuit system also, right? That is the second point. Go to the next slide. This circuit, this is the last slide probably, I think. So in the static Scalia's drive there are two methods. One is having the controlled converter circuit for the speed control, and another one is using the cyclo converter Scalia's drive. Just I have taken only the diagram, considering the time which will take for the presentation. I have taken only the diagram based on the explanations I have provided to you continuously about the Cramer drive and the Scalia's drive. You can easily understand the operation of the cycloconverter based static Scalia's drive. But here what we are doing, we are varying the frequency, right? By what is the operation of, or what is cycloconverter? Cycloconverter is used to vary the frequency from fixed frequency to variable frequency, can be achieved with the help of cycloconverter circuit, and that is the purpose for what we are using. And here, in order to vary the frequency and having bidirectional control of the slip ring induction motor, we are using cycloconverter in the cycloconverter based Scalia's drive. And with this slide, I think go to the next slide. Yeah, so with this slide, I am done with the explanation. So I will just give a very quick review on what I presented today. We had an overview of what is speed control of induction motor drive, the stator side speed control and the rotor side speed control, then the rotor resistance control, and the drawback of rotor resistance controller also briefly explained, that the power is simply wasted. So in order to effectively utilize the power, we apply slip power recovery schemes. So in slip power recovery schemes, the slip power is effectively utilized and fed back to the mains, right? There are two different types of recovery schemes: static Cramer drive and static Scalia's drive. We discussed about the static Cramer drive conventional method, that is the cascaded converter method. In the cascaded converter method, with the help of the rotary converter, the supply is given back, to the DC motor, which is mechanically coupled to the motor, in order to improve the torque, and also to effectively improve the performance by increasing the power factor and reducing the reactive power. And the static Cramer drive is the unidirectional converter, where the slip power is taken through the uncontrolled rectifier and fed back to the mains with the help of operating the controlled controlled converter, the inverter circuit between the operating range of 90 degree to 165 degree. And we see how effectively we have seen how effectively the speed can be controlled. Second part. Then the third part is the slip power recovery scheme using the static Scalia's drive, where the bidirectional power flow is possible. So static Cramer drive is only applicable for subsynchronous speed, and static Scalia's drive can be used for both subsynchronous and supersynchronous speed. I hope you got the essence of the speed control techniques of the rotor side speed control techniques and slippery recovery scheme through this session. And now I open it for discussion. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry for the interruption. There was a technical failure, like power output.
it's okay. She told me, yeah. So you are back.
Sir, yes, sir. There is a general requirement or feedback from the students. Sir, what type
Yeah.
of questions will be asked for the university exam from this topic, sir? Can you
Yeah.
briefly?
So definitely that I already explained somewhere in between the session. I explained it. The possible questions you can definitely expect questions in fourth module, particularly the possible questions you can expect are at the stator control side, mostly V by F control and its a closed loop approach are what you have to concentrate on, because the other method, the stator voltage control method using voltage control and all, is a common technique which you can easily explain. But this variable frequency control and V by F control, you need to understand the concept behind that. Why we are proportionally varying the voltage and frequency of the induction machine to have the speed control. So you can possibly expect that question from the first part. In the second part, you will have the questions either about static Scurvius drive or static Kramer drive. But as I mentioned you before, sometimes the questions are given straight, that explain with the help of circuit diagram, explain the static Kramer drive, or with the help of circuit diagram, explain the operation and operation of static Scurvius drive. That is one possible way to ask the question. But the other way around, the question can be indirect. You may be asked to explain the possible or suitable slippery recovery scheme for subsynchronous mode of operation. Right. There, if it is not mentioned, both static Kramer drive and static Scurvius drive are applicable for subsynchronous speed. But very importantly, static Kramer drive can be used only for subsynchronous mode of operation. So, if the question is about subsynchronous speed, then you should give the write up on all these things. So basically, how you have to explain this in that way. You don't have to write all these things. The main focus should be on the circuit diagram. Then the derivations. You just give a brief outline of how this circuit work with the. I mean, can you please go back to slide number 32? I have shown one symbol block with the arrow marks about the power flow direction. That you just draw that, yeah, you just draw this power flow diagram and write few lines. That will be sufficient. That will save your time. Then you have to write the equation. They are very important. The key points, whatever the key points you need to add, are clearly given in this PPT. Probably Amit will share the PPT, or this video will be available for you. Definitely. So go through this video and take down notes. This will be more than sufficient. And the other question is the possible circuit or control circuit or the drive circuit of slip power recovery scheme for subsynchronous and supersynchronous speed operation, or for the supersynchronous speed of operation. There you have to explain the static Scurvius drive. I hope it is clear now.
Sir, thank you so much. Sir, it was a
Yeah.
wonderful session, and I am sure that the class would definitely help the students in preparing for their university exam.
I hardly believe so.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming forward to helping our students during these difficult times. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to interact with the students across the state. I convey my special thanks to the team, because you put a tireless effort to make this happen. I really thankful to the team and ASAP for giving me an opportunity and organizing this in a wonderful manner. If there are no other questions, then it is fine.
Yes, sir. Sir, we shall end our session, sir. It is almost our time.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you so
thank you.
much, sir.